Every sect, every elder, every master, they all placed him at the bottom. The most powerful beings in this world do not fall easily. They are falling anyway. This is Divine Emperor of Death, chapters 11 through 20. Good. Logan widened his eyes in glee. He was trembling in excitement after being stunned for a moment. Does this mean I'll be getting a brother or sister? Davis never had any siblings in his life on Earth, at least to his knowledge. He was an orphan. He was dumbfounded and conflicted but, at the same time, delighted when he heard it. Claire knew that she was conceived the moment she slept with Logan after a long time, but she hid it from him since she wanted it to keep it a secret as a surprise. She didn't know if her new baby is a boy or a girl, but with her senses, she will be able to tell within a few weeks. But she wouldn't let anyone reveal that surprise or reveal it by herself till the time of delivery. This was one of the joys in the pregnancy she wanted to experience, a feeling that is only unique to her and other women. She approached them while coming out of the restroom. Yet, suddenly, she collapsed. "Mother! Whoosh! Claire!" Logan moved rather quickly and held her from falling to the ground. Davis wasn't even able to see how his father moved. It was as if he disappeared and appeared beside his mother. He felt a bit shocked by his father's prowess. His title as the Emperor isn't just for show, he mused. I'm fine. I just feel dizzy, Claire explained as she creased her blonde brows. Enough, you need some rest. Claire Logan's eyes had ounces of care, but his expression and tone were rather stern. He turned to look at his son and uttered, "Davis, your mother needs some rest, you understand." Davis spoke rather quickly and nodded his head. Women became quite weak when they got pregnant, even if they possessed powerful cultivation. It was a widely known fact, but Davis didn't know about it. Since this was the first sign of pregnancy, Claire felt quite weak and exhausted at the same time. The castle maids had no way of knowing or predicting since Claire was with Davis most of the time and only left at night to meet with Logan after Davis slept. No need to worry, Davis. Mother will soon come back to you. Claire comforted him. It was as if her love for him was boundless, regardless if he had gained his previous memories or not. I'll be waiting, Mother. Davis nodded again. Davis then watched them leave the study. He watched their backs as they disappeared from his sight and left him alone. Davis, vaguely yet softly laughed. Ha ha ha, I gained rather some loving parents in this world, and on top of that, I am going to get a younger sibling too. It's something I can't get even if I wished for. I can only hope that I won't do anything stupid to disrupt this loving family. Davis sighed as he thought about the future. What's this? Suddenly, Davis felt that he could now faintly access that black book that delved in his soul. He had no way of nudging it in the past, which rather left him helpless, but now was it due to him entering the so-called nascent soul stage? Should I try using it? Davis felt tempted, but he held himself back. No, I shouldn't do anything suspicious while being still in the Imperial Castle. Father did set up some kind of barrier here, so perhaps he or other people might be able to monitor this place. What Davis didn't know was that the study already had a barrier, a defensive formation set up normally to defend against attacks. It's just that Logan had set up a stronger barrier than that, useful for concealing sound and undulations of a person's cultivation. Other than that, Davis didn't know that there were always hidden experts protecting him in secret. In the quarters of the Empress's room, Logan made Claire rest in her bed. He looked at her with a gentle gleam in his eyes. Claire looked back at him with love and tenderness. These two had gone through life and death situations together when they met, fought, loved each other under different circumstances, and lastly, before the rebellion, they united. Their story was perhaps the most transcendental one in this world, since they were far apart. During the rebellion, even though Claire had ignored Logan for 3 years due to the blame she cast on him that he had lost Davis, he didn't fancy any woman other than her. He was totally smitten and deeply in love with her. With his status as the Emperor, if he so wished, he could have had hundreds of concubines, but he chose not to do so, even going as far as to publicly announce that anyone who tries to coerce him into marrying another woman would be dealt with severely, and there were truly such cases as well. Claire happened to see it with her own eyes. "Logan, Davis is our son," Claire suddenly uttered, as a worried expression appeared on her face. I know Logan deeply sighed. No matter what, possessing his previous life's memories or not, he is still our son. I won't do anything to him. Claire became confused. Then why did you? What if he was an evil person in his previous life? Logan moved the corner of his lips into a helpless expression. He's not, and there's no way my son will be evil, even in his previous life, Claire responded with a stubborn gaze. That's why I wanted to make sure, Logan calmly explained. The Lauret family highly values peace and honor and wouldn't stoop far to do evil and despicable deeds. Lauret Empire was the only empire in the Grand Sea continent which didn't wage war with other empires. Its adjacent empires were in a state of war, and that's why it didn't get attacked by other empires during its internal unrest. Although its peaceful times has caused certain backstabbers to rise in rebellion, it had remained as powerful as ever. But it had let its guard down. The cause of the rebellion was like more of an opportunity. The death of the previous emperor, Logan's imperial father, proved to be a timely opportunity to assassinate and massacre the entire imperial family. Except for Logan, almost all the members of the imperial family who were in the capital were assassinated. As for those who were outside, they, too, were monitored and hunted. That's why Logan took immediate measures to send away his only son, entrusting the task to Ray Nolan, the next head of a noble family who were in their camp. There were 8 noble families in the Lauret Empire altogether. Only 2 noble families didn't take part in the rebellion, while the other remaining 6 noble families completely joined forces to eliminate the imperial family. The 2 noble families then joined the imperial family camp to help quell the rebellion. These 2 noble families were called the Nolan family and Calden family. Of course, at the end of the rebellion, the 6 noble families were either annihilated by the Lauret Empire's army Logan rallied, or locked up in a rather special prison set up for complete execution after the higher-ups of the 6 families were killed. Only the heads of the 2 noble families, the Farnwan family and Hawkwood family, managed to escape with severe injuries. Making Claire rest, he then left Claire's room and went to the throne hall to announce the pregnancy matter. His subjects congratulated him and praised him. He felt rather awkward. Even though he was the emperor, he had not received teachings on how to be an emperor because he was 5th in line to the throne, the 5th prince in the past. He liked to be free and unrestrained, but had no choice other than to be an emperor. He could only take this position because his family in the capital was entirely annihilated. Only his 7th and 8th brother were alive and somewhere out there, perhaps adventuring in a danger zone, but he didn't have the means to contact them either. Perhaps they had lost their lives without even having their corpses intact. Such cases weren't uncommon as well, but from his investigations, the rebelled noble families seemed to have no idea about these 2 brothers of his, hence causing him to have some hope. Logan had lost too much in this internal war, and he utterly hated the 6 noble families for it. He wished he could find and kill the 2 heads of the Farnwan family and Hawkwood family who had escaped. His only support was his wife, Claire. Then his son, Davis, became his heir, but now he felt distanced himself from his son. Even things have grown awkward between the 3 of them. Hence, he rather felt ridiculous for it. Somewhere in his heart, he felt that he should make this right. So, at night after much deliberation, he decided to visit his son, Davis. Davis was in the study. He was still in the mood to learn about this world, and hence had his gaze concentrated on one of the many books that were stored in the bookshelves here. The child's body had influenced him greatly, and he was well aware of that. Even if he had a yearning for familial love in the past, it didn't mean that he wanted it now, but he unexpectedly got a loving family through the child's body he had possessed and even swore that he would live his portion. He felt that he should not disappoint this family, at least for the sake of the child he possessed. However, he had his own determination after all, or one could say that he directed his focus on other matters rather than to think about the earlier event. Knock! Davis, a voice could be heard from the other side of the door. It didn't sound stern but hesitant. Father. Davis turned back and stood up. He narrowed his eyes, feeling rather confused as to why his father would visit at this time, but the earlier event made him quickly realize. Logan opened the door and entered as he looked around. There were a lot of books, stacked rows and rows upon the bookshelves. You are still studying at this time? Logan found a topic that he could start on. Moon Davis nodded. I see. Are you fine? Davis again nodded. A few words were exchanged, but perceiving that the conversation isn't going anywhere, Logan felt even more awkward. He then decided to be direct. Davis, about the matter, Earl, can I speak? Davis suddenly interrupted. Logan paused for a moment before nodding his head. Go ahead. Davis took a deep breath before moving his lips. Father, it's true that I am my own self, but it still will not change the fact that I am your son. In my previous life, I didn't have any parents nor siblings. I was just an orphan. I lived my whole life alone, without any familial love. I didn't even have anyone to accompany me in that life, and I lived alone in solitude. If you want me to go, then I will immediately leave this place. Inadvertently, his eyes turned moist. But it's just that. Can I also be a part of this family? Tears fell out of his eyes while he possessed a gaze that was full of longing for familial love. Logan kneeled and held his son's shoulders. You are a part of this family. He strongly replied, his eyes full of resolve and commitment for the future. The next day. Mother Davis? Claire expressed her astonishment as her face changed into one of affection. She initially thought that she wouldn't be able to see him for a while, since the earlier event felt rather forced. Davis obtained permission from his father to meet his mother. Although things were fine now, the matters of the heart are difficult to comprehend. It remained difficult for his father to accept the status quo immediately. As for when he will accept Davis wholeheartedly, only time will tell. Mother, how are you? Seeing that Claire was genuinely happy seeing him, he knew it was fine for him to act like a child again. Although there was no need for pretense, he felt that he should be like this and not act out of character. The image of a 3-year-old child acting as if he knew it all would rather embarrass him even more and would be so out of place in reality. Davis, you don't know how I missed you. Come here, let me give you a kiss. Claire beckoned. Davis approached closer to Claire, and he got a peck on his forehead. He further realized that the previous event didn't cause any estrangement between the two of them. Perhaps she was doing this exactly to not let any difference come between them, looking at her treating him the same way she treated him before knowing that he gained his previous memories. Davis inwardly became heartened. After that, Davis talked to his mother about what happened with his father. It's good that you two talked it through, Davis. Mother will only be accompanying you for a few months. Let me give you an amulet. What's this? The amulet was bright purple, glistening like a gem. It's an accessory that is capable of hiding your soul-forging cultivation. Have it worn on you always, Claire said with a serious expression on her face. Davis became extremely touched, but a moment later he realized that he was duped by his mother yesterday. He discerned that he could have used this amulet to hide his soul-forging cultivation from his father. He decided to play a little joke on her to get back at her. Hee. Mother, am I getting a little monster? Little monster? Claire became momentarily confused before realizing it. You dare to say that your little sibling is a monster. Claire made a face full of fake anger while smiling. Davis instantly rose to the air and floated. Whoa! What, Mother? He struggled in the air. Now that I remember that I haven't given you any punishments since you always seem to complete assignments way before time. Hee. This is a good opportunity for me to teach you a lesson, Claire said teasingly. Davis realized that Claire was using this opportunity to be, perhaps, closer to him. His lips upturned, and a cute yet pitiful expression emerged on his face, which immediately made Claire reluctant to give any punishment. She made Davis come closer as she opened her arms to hug him. Davis immediately thought that his act worked. When he came closer, Claire made him bend around. Hey, Mom! Slap! Ah! Davis cried out in pain and shock. You think you can get out of this just by playing innocent? Claire scoffed as a grin emerged on her face. Slap! 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 Exclamation. Davis got his small butt slapped so hard that it turned red behind the small robes he wore. Arg! Those slaps were truly painful but tolerable. Damn! I stepped on a landmine! Davis thought. Now he knew how much she truly loved her kids. Playing a bad joke on her had instead backfired on him. It had been a miscalculation on his part. Davis, who had only seen Claire's affectionate side, failed to see her scary side. She is still the Empress, for heaven's sake. Mother, I'm sorry, Davis cried out with a fake apology. Good, you should have said this earlier. Claire smiled with a smug expression on her face before giggling. Looks like I have to teach you manners as well, you naughty child. I hear and obey, Your Majesty, Davis said while making an adorable face. You only know how to joke. Claire tried to spank Davis again. Davis immediately struggled away from her grasp and ran away from her. Ah! You can't catch me! Come back! Claire saw his small stature disappear from her view before a smile. unknowingly lit up her face. 3 months passed. Every day was filled with joy for Claire and Davis. Not only did she teach him more about this world, but she also played together as well as studied together with him for 3 whole months. Then various tutors were assigned to Davis, who then all diligently taught him. There were not many eligible imperial tutors since most of them were killed along with the imperial family or executed for taking the side of the rebels. Hence, most of them were new tutors who concentrated on topics like history, geography, and other subjects relevant to the cultivation world. Claire was officially ordered by the emperor to rest for the remaining 6 months. Of course, whenever Davis had time, he went to visit his mother almost every day. Davis needed to act like a child in front of everyone except his mother and father. His father and mother permitted him to do that. In fact, they even laughed behind him. They had to admit that his acting skills were quite excellent. 6 months passed. Logan was walking to and fro with a stiff expression on his face. Although nothing would happen to Claire, he was no longer sure after a monster like Davis was born. He inadvertently started thinking about all possible worst-case scenarios. "Father!" Davis, who was beside him, shouted. "Don't worry, nothing will happen to Mother." Davis was quite composed compared to his father. After being in this body for months, he had become used to it and brought his nerves and unchecked emotions under his control. At least he felt that he managed to keep it under his control. Logan nodded his head, but he still couldn't get his nervousness out of his head. A scream of agony and heavy breathing could be heard suddenly, followed by a cacophony of a crying baby. Claire, Logan hurriedly went inside the Empress's room. Davis also followed him inside. There were also other people beside them, but no one dared to follow after them. Inside the room, Claire was holding a newborn baby while beaming resplendently. She looked like an angel, and her smile lit the whole room with brightness. Logan remained stunned at the scene, while Davis had his attention on the newcomer. Logan went beside her and shifted his attention to the baby. "It's a girl," Claire said with a smile on her face. Claire knew that she would get a girl baby, but she kept it a secret from everyone. She looked at Davis and said, "Davis, you're a big brother, now my sister." Davis was dumbfounded at the prospect of his sister's birth, even though he knew this would happen eventually because of the general birth rate. This world wasn't like the modern world, and people rarely stopped with a single baby, mostly because the chances that an heir would die is exceptionally high due to various reasons, mostly stemming from violent conflict. Logan took hold of the baby from Claire. He stared at her small, expressionless yet cute face with a gaze full of love. "Claire, she looks just like you, an angel. Didn't we decide if the baby were a girl, I'd get to name her?" Claire asked as she giggled. "Yes, even though I wanted to." Logan had a face full of dissatisfaction as he muttered, "Damar, little princess, will be named Clara Lauret." Clara Lauret, a good name. Logan became a little happy with this name as it sounded similar to Claire, while Davis kept mumbling the name in his mind. A year passed. Davis started to learn about cultivation during this time. He was waiting for another year to pass so that he could start cultivating. Children in this world seem to start cultivating when they were 5 years old, but it differs depending on the child's physique. Some children start cultivating at 5, and some at 8 or even 10. "Davis?" Claire called out to him. Mother." Davis was in the castle library reading books about cultivation. "Davis, I don't have to say it myself, but you, a capable genius, should know that no one has no way to cultivate soul-forging cultivation before they reach the revolving core stage. At least to my knowledge, I have never heard of such characters. Yes, you mentioned it to me before, Mother." Davis instantly responded. Claire nodded her head and then revealed an ecstatic smile. "You are quite lucky because we are the only empire in this continent who specializes in soul-forging cultivation." "Really?" Davis asked in excitement. "Other sects, clans, various families also have soul-forging cultivation manuals. But they don't compare to ours. That's great!" Davis had an elated expression on his face. "Then that means that I can advance in soul-forging cultivation faster and earlier than anyone else my age in this world." "Don't celebrate too soon." Claire looked as if she was going to pour cold water over his face. Out of the 3 cultivation systems, soul-forging cultivation is the hardest to cultivate. This fact does not even need to be debated. You have achieved nascent soul stage before reaching revolving core stage. The soul forging cultivation manuals in our continent can only be cultivated after reaching revolving core stage. At that stage, you can sense the changes in the heaven and earth required for soul forging cultivation. If you can't cultivate your soul after a year with our soul forging cultivation manual, then you will have to reach revolving core stage before training in it again, which makes your cultivation speed the same as any royal family children. Claire decided to put down his ego first. Hence, she explained. What the fuck? Davis looked speechless. There goes my genius chronicle down the drain. His nascent soul stage cultivation turned out to be useless unless he could cultivate and reach the revolving core stage to make his senses stronger. I'm sorry, Davis, but I have no way to teach you soul forging cultivation since our starting point differs. I could offer you help if you were at the revolving core stage. However, you will have to rely on your comprehension to learn how to cultivate your soul without reaching revolving core stage, Claire said with a helpless expression on her face. I understand, Mother. Davis understood that almost all people couldn't sense the soul without any cultivation, but that wouldn't stop him from advancing forwards. He was sure that he would just take a few extra steps and stumble at certain points before officially beginning to cultivate his soul. Mother, I want a nascent soul stage soul forging cultivation manual of our family now. Davis had an idea of where he should start, but he needed permission as always. Davis, you aren't allowed to cultivate until you're 5 years old, Claire warned with a stern expression on her face. I know, Mother. I just want to learn the manual to find a way to cultivate without reaching the revolving core stage, and I promise that I won't cultivate until I'm 5 years old. Claire looked pensive. She heaved a sigh and nodded her head. Sigh, I'll talk to your father about it. Then I'll come to play with Clara afterward, Davis excitedly uttered. Of course! However, Clara fancies you more than me. What kind of tricks did you play on her? Claire asked with an expression full of fake anger. Secret Davis smirked and ran away. 6 months passed. After gaining permission from his father, he learned and inferred many nascent soul stage soul forging cultivation manuals. Davis worked hard to find a way to cultivate the soul. Logan personally started to teach him about all 3 types of cultivation, especially the basics of soul forging cultivation. After 6 months, Davis firmly grasped how to cultivate his soul normally when one reaches revolving core stage, but he couldn't fathom on how to cultivate without entering it. In fact, it was a miracle that he achieved the nascent soul stage without cultivating in a specific soul forging cultivation manual. Since Davis couldn't find a way to cultivate, he tried asking various personalities in a roundabout way. Good day, Crown Prince. The librarian greeted Davis. Good day, Mr. Oxford? Davis greeted. Mr. Oxford was the librarian of the royal castle. He was 181 centimeters tall, with a suave and gentlemanly face. But he looked quite old when perceived in a mortal's standard, around 50 years of age. His real age was unknown to Davis, but he knew that his question might be answered if he asked. Our prince is so studious. Our empire will surely be stable and powerful in the years to come. Oxford complimented with a sincere smile on his face. Thank you, Mr. Oxford. Davis reciprocated the smile with an innocent expression. Can I ask you a question? The prince has a question for me? I will try to answer my best. Which stage are you in the essence gathering cultivation system? Davis asked with a curious expression on his face. I'm in the revolving core stage. However, it doesn't compare to your talented imperial father, who had recently reached the law seed stage just before the rebellion ended. Really, father has achieved law seed stage. Davis became astonished. Davis finished reading about the basics of cultivation, so he knew the order of cultivation stages up to the 5th stage for all 3 cultivation systems. Yes, Mr. Oxford replied with a proud smile on his face, perhaps proud of the Lauret Empire's young emperor. The law seed stage is the 5th stage in the essence gathering cultivation system. It is difficult to attain it without resources and comprehension. Only the top powers of the continent have a powerhouse of the law seed stage. Logan's royal father, the previous emperor, was originally a law seed stage expert, but he died, triggering the start of the rebellion. Then what about my father's soul forging cultivation? Oh, aren't you in a hurry to learn about your father? Oxford teased but continued, your father is at the peak level of the young soul stage, the 3rd stage of soul forging cultivation. Meanwhile, I am only at the peak level of the nascent soul stage. Oxford sighed, only the third stage. And Mr. Oxford only reached the peak of the first stage in soul forging cultivation. Davis was shocked at their slow speed in soul cultivation. The young soul stage is the third stage of soul forging cultivation. Oh, it isn't easy to cultivate the soul, my prince. Your highness needs plenty of resources that tempers and refines your soul. Other than that, you need to perceive heaven and earth energy and resonate to comprehend the relevant mysteries required to enter the next level and stage. Without them, you can only slowly progress at a snail's pace, training in the soul. Oxford looked as if he lamented that he couldn't cultivate his soul at a steady pace. It is very difficult. I understand. Then I'll see you around. Davis kept nodding his head and took his leave. Davis walked absent-mindedly, thinking of a solution to the problem that he currently faced. No matter how he thought, he couldn't think of a solution with his current knowledge. Forget it. I'll eventually find a way to temper my soul. Davis gave up temporarily and went to play with his mother and sister. Clara was now able to form 3 to 4 words of sentences. He took his time playing, keeping his little sister entertained and making her cry accidentally, which makes Claire slap his butt out of this world. In this elevated life that didn't seem like how an imperial person would live, he lived rather carefreely without any burdens in his life, other than learning imperial ethics and other subjects from the tutors. Other than not being allowed out of the royal castle, he was rather an unobstructed, free soul who could go anywhere and disturb any person he wanted as long as it wasn't the emperor and the empress. Of course, they rarely rejected his presence unless they had some work. 8 months later, Davis reached his 5th birthday and officially earned the freedom to cultivate. He learned more about all 3 cultivation systems and got the cultivation manuals of all 3 of them 6 months ago. The 3 cultivation manuals he procured from the Royal Library were all Skygrade manuals. Skygrade manuals were reserved only for the royal family members and those who produced top achievements beneficial to the Laureate Empire. Skygrade cultivation techniques aren't easily available on this continent. They weren't just rare, but all available Skygrade manuals are already in the hands of the Grand Sea continent's top powers. No mid-level auctions even dared to sell one in their place, and at most, only the higher-tier powers will dare to sell them. The cultivation manuals he chose with the help of his father and mother were named Tyrant Body Secrets, Extinction Lightning Judgment, and Sacred Luminance Mist. Tyrant Body Secrets is a mid-level Skygrade manual, a body tempering cultivation manual. It has 5 layers in it with each of its layers corresponding to the stages in the cultivation system. The first layer is comprehended upon entering the first stage, the second layer is comprehended upon entering the second stage, and so on and so forth. Extinction Lightning Judgment is also a mid-level Skygrade manual. It is an essence-gathering cultivation manual. It also has 5 layers. Sacred Luminance Mist is a mid-level Skygrade manual. It is a soul-tempering cultivation technique, and it also has 5 layers in it. No top power in this continent has a Skygrade soul cultivation technique, at least publicly, and only the Laureate Empire holds a monopoly over it. However, there were still some powers that secretly held Skygrade soul cultivation manuals, but failed to cultivate a worthy heir. Laureate Empire has 3 Skygrade soul forging cultivation techniques, 2 low-level and 1 mid-level Skygrade manuals. After getting all the cultivation manuals required for him to make progress in his cultivation, his father tutored him about all 3 cultivation knowledge, further increasing his knowledge up to the second stage of all 3 cultivation systems. Father, I still haven't gotten an idea on how to cultivate the soul. However, Davis was still depressed. He had rather managed to comprehend the basics of even the second stage in soul-forging cultivation, but still failed to see how he could cultivate his soul. Don't sweat it. You are still a 5-year-old child. You have plenty of opportunities to try some ideas in the future. But, no buts, you can concentrate on the other 2 cultivation systems for now. Logan noticed something and started to leave with rather grand strides. Father, where are you going? Davis became bewildered as their discussion was not over yet. It's time for me to break through, Logan excitedly smirked. 3 hours later. Davis! Claire arrived outside the Emperor's room. Davis, who was standing outside, clearly looked as if he were waiting for his father to come out. He thought he would be able to see his father achieve a breakthrough rather quickly in one of the 3 cultivation systems, but it seems like his father entered closed-door cultivation, since it concerns the advancing of the soul. Advancing in soul-forging cultivation requires almost absolute silence with peace and serenity, but it is still possible to make a breakthrough in the midst of a battle only under certain conditions. After all, emotions play a huge and vital role in soul-forging cultivation. Mother-father is currently. I heard, what's the situation now? Claire had a worried expression on her face. Everything is fine for now, at least. Davis slightly shrugged. We can only wait for my father to come out. The 2 stayed silent after that and waited for 10 minutes, which seemed rather long. As Claire felt fidgety, she glanced at Davis, who looked slightly worried the same, so she said, "All right, Davis, you can go do whatever." Suddenly, a majestic aura spread with luminance brightening the entire room that Logan stayed, overflowed outside before quietly subsiding down as if the light never appeared in the first place. Davis and Claire rather had solemn expressions on their faces. After a minute, Logan walked out with a worn-down expression on his face, while his posture was slumped dejectedly. Claire immediately went to hold his palm with a concerned expression on his face, seeing that her husband had walked out sadly. I failed. A soft voice echoed from Logan's mouth, rather meek for his stature as the Emperor. A bright luminance surrounded Logan, which subtly started healing his wounded soul. Claire emitted the temporarily blinding luminance, as she also trained in sacred luminance mist. Sacred soul healing is the ability that a person comprehends when one reaches the 3rd stage. Hence, this ability is the 3rd layer that is recorded in the manual. Don't worry, dear. You can definitely succeed the next time. Claire tried to comfort. It's useless, Logan muttered again. He dropped his head down. Why? Claire asked, not understanding his meaning. Logan looked at her, his eyes reflecting her confused expression, and uttered, "Heart demon." Claire realized but was not surprised. She knew that Logan lost his family and hadn't completely freed himself from its clutches yet. He still hadn't fulfilled his vengeance because of those 2 heads of the noble families who ran away. This matter had been heavily weighing down on his heart ever since then, blocking him from having a breakthrough. Claire suddenly blinked. She realized that she hadn't seen show his worry out, perhaps just to keep others from worrying for him. Claire immediately felt extremely guilty that she wasn't intimate with him during the 3-year rebellion period. She bit her lips and just embraced him. She didn't opt to say anything, just staying like that while all she felt that she could do was just provide some warmth for him. Davis just left, giving them the time for them to talk alone. 3 days later, Davis became ready to cultivate his body-tempering cultivation. The first 2 stages in body-tempering cultivation were extremely easy for the imperial family to cultivate. Why? It was because they had plenty of resources to temper the body. It also became easier for them to cultivate to the 3rd stage of body-tempering cultivation because of the loot gained from the rebellion. The royal laureate family lost more lives than their wealth. It was such an irony that many people even formed conspiracy theories that the current Emperor Logan Laureate had plotted this whole scenario. However, conspiracies were just conspiracies. Without evidence to even form an anchor, they would be quickly squashed under the fist of strength. Davis went to meet his father to consult whether he should make his first breakthrough in body-tempering cultivation so soon. After all, he was just 5 years old. "Father, is it okay for me to cultivate in body-tempering cultivation now?" Logan thought for a moment before replying. Most children only start to cultivate body-tempering cultivation only when they are 10 years old. After all, body-tempering cultivation involves extreme pain when cultivating it. It requires extreme resilience. However, I won't stop you from cultivating it, but are you up to the task? Logan asked with a sharp voice. Beatings. Davis's small sapphire eyes flashed. Physical abuse was etched into his bones, but since his father was asking for proof my previous life was filled with pain, both mentally and physically, I am sure that I am up for the task, Father Davis said with confidence etched on his face. Good, that's my son! Logan nodded and smiled proudly, but his eyes suddenly flashed while a kick abruptly landed on Davis out of nowhere, sending him flying. Garg Davis flew out and rolled on the floor miserably. He spat out a mouthful of blood as he held his stomach, his pupils twitching in pain. He instantly tried to stand up, but couldn't no matter how he attempted. painful, it became extremely painful for him in his abdomen. It hurt like hell. Yes, I almost forgot. This body isn't used to pain. Davis instantly realized that he confused this with his past life. His calm mind was still able to think under intolerable pain, perhaps because of his low-level nascent soul stage cultivation. What? That's it. You couldn't even take a single hit. You should just give up body-tempering cultivation. Logan shouted furiously. I should not be doing this, but it seems that he relies on his previous experience as a mortal in this world. That won't work. I have to teach him the ways of this world as a cultivator. Logan thought as he narrowed his eyes. No! I can stand up! Davis cried. Tears automatically cascaded down his cheeks upon receiving such an injury for the first time. Davis struggled to stand up. He spat out his bloodied saliva and, after 2 tries, managed to stand up with his legs wobbling as if it would be unable to support his negligible weight. Come, Davis shouted. Logan's eyes flashed at his son's resilience. He didn't think that Davis would manage to stand up. It was unexpected to him. Good then, because I'm not going to stop till you give up. The one-sided beatings went on for about 10 minutes. Every part of Davis's body received injuries except his life jewels. The floor was full of fresh bloodstains. It was such a hardcore training that it didn't even make him feel the pain of his past. It's fine if you give up now. Davis Logan looked at his son's battered silhouette. In fact, he had been holding back a lot. One single punch of his fist was enough to explode his son into smithereens. And even he didn't feel like continuing anymore, afraid that he would really cause his son to die. These injuries were nothing, as he could always heal it with a capable healing pill, but that didn't mean that he was willing to harm his own son. However, he said that he wouldn't stop until his son said so, and there was still no sign of his son giving up. It put him in a tough spot, as he wanted to respect his son's, or rather the determined soul in his son's body. Logan silently gulped as he inwardly sighed. My child, what have you experienced in your previous life to be this stubborn? Endurance is something built over time. You must give up now. No, please continue. Davis thought that he had to show more resilience and determination so that his father will approve of him to be able to cultivate sooner. After all, the sooner, the better. Besides, the notes had written it all. Body tempering cultivation is about endurance. The more you could endure, the more breakthroughs a person could experience in body tempering cultivation. Endure the pain and conquer it. This is what it means to temper one's body. As for paying back this debt, he could do that after he has grown up. Secretly, Davis started to hold a grudge against his father, albeit a healthy one. Please give up. If you get any more thrashings, I'm not sure that I will be able to escape Claire's wrath. Logan made a wry face inwardly. This situation where both didn't want to stop continued for about 5 more minutes. It's enough, Davis. You can now give up. Logan had enough of Davis's determination anymore, and he was sure that he'd be ignored by Claire again, for who knows how long if he doesn't give up. Besides, his son's figure completely made him hold back his punches as much as he could, to the extreme, but even then. No, please continue. Davis's face was injured fully. He had lost more than 3 teeth, while his left cheek had slightly caved in. His arms and legs were trembling, but he still had determination etched on his face. He couldn't see what was in front of him anymore, as he was rather feeling dizzy. Logan dropped his battle posture and made a wry face as he felt his heart ache. Why do you try so hard? Davis tried to make his trembling feet stable. He looked at his father's blurred face as he creased his eyes. I just want to protect everyone I love. He panted, I want to protect Mother, protect Clara, and even you, Father. For that, I need strength as soon as possible. Just when he was about to finish saying his heartfelt emotions, his eyes inadvertently closed as he found himself collapsing. Logan made a dumbfounded face while he watched his son collapse and muttered, protect our family? Protect me? A 5-year-old child protecting me. Logan suddenly started laughing out loud in an uproarious manner. I am so ashamed of myself. I am so lost in hatred and arrogance that I forgot about my family's safety. Ha ha ha! Logan shook his head. The regret I had for letting those 2 ingrates escape has caged me in, and I'm so shallow to focus my mind on those 2. The instant Logan realized that he started releasing a majestic aura filled with sacred luminance illuminating the room. It was just a moment. He instantly made a breakthrough to the adult soul stage, the 4th stage in soul forging cultivation. Thank you, Davis. I was able to realize what's more important to me. Logan smiled at his son with a grateful expression on his face. He finally had his last wall of caution against his son's abnormality break. On the same day, Claire noticed the commotion in her room from one of the castle maids. She then heard from Logan and that he had managed to break through to the adult soul stage, and she was so ecstatic that she wanted to share her happiness with Davis as well. But when she saw the fainted and injured Davis, she grew so angry that she slapped Logan heavily that formed an imprint on his cheek. She then didn't speak to him afterward. Claire thought Logan injured Davis because of that event before, but Logan immediately explained to her about what had happened. She only listened and didn't interfere as she hoped that what she had feared didn't come true. Her expression relaxed, understanding that it was just a misunderstanding again, but didn't bother replying to him. She immediately started to apply some medicinal paste on Davis. The royal family has treasures capable of instant recovery, but those were too strong for Davis. Claire would have immediately fed him that, but his body would have burst apart without any powerful external help. Claire would have done it herself as she was powerful enough, but Logan wanted to make him slowly heal so as not to leave any sequela behind in his body. Of course, Claire only listened to him when he said that Davis wanted to train in body tempering techniques. Otherwise, she would have immediately fed him medicines capable of instant recovery and helped him recover through guiding the essence of the medicinal pill with her essence energy. Logan knew that this would happen beforehand, so he comforted himself by thinking that it is only a matter of time before she gives up ignoring him. The next day, at the study, Davis woke up and immediately felt both warm and painful. My wounds are healing rather quickly. He sensed that most of his bruises had disappeared and his teeth started growing again. Davis can use soul sense from the time he made a breakthrough, but at his level, he can only use it to sense his whole body. That was his current limit. His soul sense still wasn't able to leave his body like the others, like his father or mother. Davis, Claire, who was seated beside him, happily echoed before asking in a worried tone, "Are you fine?" "I'm fine, Mother, although it hurts a little bit," Davis said truthfully with a wry smile on his face. "That scoundrel, he went too far again." Claire hatefully grit her teeth. "Mother, no! I was the one who asked him to temper me! So it's in no way Father's fault. Don't fight with Father because of it." Davis didn't want to create a rift between his new family members. Besides, with his help, I am now able to cultivate my body even more flawlessly. Davis displayed a wide smile, which rather revealed his 3 teeth that were growing currently. Davis wasn't going to be salty with those injuries. He was self-aware that he was the one who asked for it, and although his father was the one who started it, he was the one who was stubborn and didn't give up. Claire looked at his clear eyes and sighed. "All right, I won't hold this against your father. I know that he isn't in the wrong either. It's just, how dare he beat you up?" Claire fumed with a wronged expression on her face. Just at that moment, Logan entered the room without knocking. He had a wry smile on his face. Claire saw him entering and immediately harumphed in dissatisfaction. "Claire, listen to me." Claire had a sudden change of expression and rapidly ran away to the restroom. Strange sounds could be heard. Davis and Logan became dumbfounded. They had this extreme sense of déjà vu to this bizarre situation. They looked at each other. One smiled lewdly while the other had a straight expression on his face. Claire returned, walking out of the restroom with an awkward expression on her face. "Are you two rabbits?" Davis smirked and laughed in a lewd way. Claire blushed heavily and didn't dare to say anything. She remained extremely reserved for any topic concerning procreation. Meanwhile, the one who had the straight face coughed and said shamelessly, "Of course, as the Emperor of the Lauret Empire, I have the responsibility to produce more offspring so as not to make our empire meet its end." Logan looked at her with a profound expression on his face after stating as if it were normal. The two of them then looked at each other and laughed while Claire had her face even more buried down due to extreme embarrassment. "I'm going to kill you all," she screamed. The two of them immediately ran away from the study while laughing. A week later, Davis trained his body lightly in the meantime. He improved his physique little by little. However, he didn't forget about his soul-forging cultivation, which was stuck. One of the immediate solutions to cultivate his soul was to sense the changes in heaven and earth, but he was unable to do that since he was only at the low-level nascent soul stage. His soul sense was unable to go out of his body and unable to feel the heaven and earth energy directly, so he could only obediently look for other methods to cultivate the soul. Davis heard from his mother how his father managed to break through by conquering his heart demon, just like how he was able to do it initially. Davis then learned more about heart demons from the Royal Library and affirmed that the only way to have a breakthrough in his soul-forging cultivation is to conquer his heart demons, at least for his current situation. But he was sure that he had no heart demons presently since he had already resolved one. A heart demon is not exactly a demon. It's just an inner thought that is capable of corroding one's mind and soul. In fact, heart demons were the cause of most people's cultivation to stagnate. If one cannot let go of it or manage to conquer it, then one's cultivation will be potentially locked for the rest of their life. Davis had no way to implement this method after learning about it since he thought he didn't have a heart demon. Claire was resting in her room, periodically looking out the window, which rather opened up to beautiful moonlit scenery. "Mother, I don't think I have any heart demons now. How can I then increase my soul-forging cultivation?" Davis stated lamentably. Claire was dumbfounded for a moment before she laughed. "Davis, only peak experts can tell whether they have heart demons or not. Do you think yourself to be a peak expert? Not even your father is considered a peak expert in this entire world." Hearing that, Davis blinked, realized that he was getting full of himself. He was immediately embarrassed. His father could be considered peak expert in the Grand Sea continent, but his mother told otherwise. Davis didn't ponder on it too much. "Davis, conquering a heart demon on your own is no easy process. It is hundreds of times harder than naturally conquering it through enlightenment. If you failed to conquer it on your own, you would easily receive various backlashes, and the worst-case scenario may even change your personality to be more twisted." Claire shook her head and explained to him seriously. Seeing Davis's depressed face, she half-heartedly asked, "Davis, do you want to confront your heart demon?" "Yes." Davis had a determined expression on his face. He had a bit of curiosity about what his heart demon will be like. "No, Mother won't allow you," Claire seriously uttered as she shook her head. "Then I'll go ask Father about it." Davis just shrugged and stood up, ready to leave. "You!" "You're not allowed to." Davis immediately started walking away. He opened the door and took a step out. "Fine. You win. Come back." Claire sighed as she thought about these two people who gave her headaches all the time. Since Logan had dared to beat Davis up, she was sure that he would allow Davis to challenge that and might even endanger him with provocation. Davis returned with an obedient-looking expression on his face. "You're not going to reconsider?" "Your future is long and plentiful," Claire asked, wanting him to reconsider. "No," Davis replied as a matter of fact. "This is not a game. One wrong move and you're done for," Claire said seriously. Davis's heart skipped a beat, but he still possessed a determined expression on his face. Claire sighed and looked at him. "Have you heard about the Redemption Tower? The one that is nearby the Imperial prison and mostly used by prisoners who are deemed redeemable in a sense." Davis thought for a moment before answering. "I have heard about it before. Wasn't it used to free prisoners or criminals who had a change of heart? Isn't that why it was named Redemption Tower?" "You're right. But the truth is very different from the known facts." Claire shook her head lightly. "First, there are 3 levels to clear the Redemption Tower. Many prisoners will give anything up to have a chance at the Redemption Tower. Skipping over the first 2 levels, what you need to know is about the 3rd level, the last level, the redemption level. That is where the prisoners face their heart demons and cleanse their soul of impurities. If a prisoner clears the last level, they would even have a chance of being recruited by the Imperial family." Claire sighed. "However, all of this is partially true, and part lies the truth is that no prisoner will be able to clear the level as it would use up the treasure placed in the formation. It only induces the arousal of the heart demon with the help of the formation. While the prisoner is busy taking care of the heart demon, another formation will act. Once the prisoner manages to clear the last level, the other formation placed there will imprint a slave seal on their souls. The Imperial family then takes them and assigns them to a certain squad or place them openly in the army. That slave has no choice but to obey the Imperial family. This is the ugly truth, and it is certainly a part of this empire." Claire looked at Davis's dumbfounded expression. "What? Did you get disgusted by our empire?" Claire asked while smiling weakly. There was a moment of silence. Yes, 'cause being a slave I've experienced it once, and it sucks a lot. Davis laughed ruefully. Claire became shocked at his revelation. But if they were used to protect you and father during the rebellion, then all is worth it. I don't care as long as those scums live their lives protecting mother and father. Whoa! You have some twisted views over there, but protecting mother and father instead of the empire. I like it, Claire smirked as she chuckled. But you are indeed sharp. They were used as meat shields for us to protect us from the rebels. I did feel some pity for them at first, but after learning that they did some evil crimes, I stopped caring about it. Claire explained her experiences and said, Davis, remember, we as the royal family won't hesitate to sacrifice others' lives as long as we can protect our family. Davis nodded his head, giving her a sign that he understood the meaning behind it. He had the same idea because he felt that he couldn't be the same as he was on Earth in this world. There, he could afford not to kill people and live, but here, he narrowed his eyes. He was very clear that he would have to step on thousands of corpses to reach the apex. However, for his kind and caring mother to utter these kinds of words. Did she experience betrayal in the past? Davis mused as he didn't know his mother's past. The only thing he knew that she wasn't a person of the Loret Empire before she married Logan. I'll ask Deer to disable the first 2 levels and place the full, complete formation to help one in conquering heart demons in the 3rd level. Normally, unless in an emergency, we won't use the treasure, but since you are a genius in soul-forging cultivation, more importantly, since you are my son, we can't miss this opportunity either. Claire beamed. Thank you, Mother. Hearing that, Davis became ecstatic. He was rather worried that she really wouldn't allow him, but respecting his wishes, she allowed. The next day, outside the Redemption Tower, Davis wore a black robe and a mask that covered his features and his body. For his small stature that wore a black robe, he could well scare people in the night, walking outside like a small ghost. You sure are lucky. Only less than 10% of the potency of the treasure is left, which is more than enough for your stage, or else if the potency were more than 50%, I would have used it to break through long ago. Logan lamented as he said. Claire didn't come. Hence, Davis was accompanied by his father, anonymously. His soul-forging cultivation was meant to be kept a secret after all. But, are you sure that you are up to the task? Logan cast an eye on him and probed. Davis nodded his head and didn't say anything. Logan knew that he couldn't change his child's mind, so he didn't say any more. Davis started walking in the direction of the Redemption Tower, then go straight to the 3rd level, which is on the 3rd floor of the Redemption Tower. Make sure you conquer your heart demon from your previous life. Davis paused for a moment before starting to walk ahead again. His lips curved into a smile, hidden behind the robe's hood. In the Redemption Tower, the 3rd floor. A silhouette could be seen coming out of the entrance at the 3rd level. Davis removed his hood and investigated the room. The surroundings were brightly lit, glowing like a sacred place. There was an altar in the center that stood tall. The room was filled with candles around the bright altar. In the center of the altar, there was a mat that made it obvious for him to recognize. He moved straight to the mat and sat on it. When he sat on it, the ceiling above the room vibrated and covered him in a spherical glow of light. Davis knew that the formation had started, so he started cultivating sacred luminance mist. He then realized that he was slowly starting to get dizzy. It felt like something was trying to get hold of his heart, like a pull of tug that could take his emotions away. He immediately concentrated on it. Before Davis could even realize, he was transported to a different place. Where am I? Davis became startled even though he had been prepared. The change of scenery was just too quick. He checked his surroundings and his eyes widened. This place seems oddly familiar. It's my old CAG home. Davis became shocked. He started to tremble in agitation. Calm down, me. This isn't reality, remember. Remember, yes, this is just my heart demon. Davis had a stiff face as he muttered, I didn't want to come back to this place ever again. The formation pretty much helped screw me over suddenly. A cry resounded out. Mr. Arg! Please don't hit me! A 10-year-old child cried miserably. His teeth were broken, and his body was covered full of bruises. A middle-aged man could be seen stepping on the child. Ouch! Mister, please let me leave! Bang exclamation, the child was sent flying, kicked by the middle-aged man right on the stomach. The child spun in midair and crashed on the wall. Call me Father Pet, The middle-aged man had a twisted expression on his face, clearly enjoying beating the child up. What was your name again? Ah, Tianlong, right? Ha ha ha! From now on, you belong to me, and you are my slave. From now on, you are just a dog. Let me give you a dog's name, but wait, I guess you don't deserve a name. Let me just call you Mutt! Ha ha ha! The middle-aged man laughed wildly. Davis, who was watching all this, produced an angry expression on his face, wanting to tear the good-looking middle-aged man in front of him to pieces. He ran towards the middle-aged man and delivered a full power blow to his face. ZZZ exclamation, the middle-aged man's face distorted, letting his fists go through him. Davis stood behind the middle-aged man, his face revealing a dumbfounded expression. I can't touch him. Davis possessed an ugly expression on his face. He turned over, only to see his little past self, Tianlong, getting beaten up again by a belt. Davis tried attacking again and again, but it was of no use. Stop hitting! Davis shouted with an enraged expression on his face. He stood in front of Tianlong and shielded him, but it was of no use again. The belt passed through him and made contact with Tianlong's face. Slap! Arg! Help! Please help me! Anyone! The little Tianlong begged loudly. You're pretty funny. This is my private mansion, and no one dares to come in without my permission. Oh, the guards at the gate! They'll pretty much turn a blind eye to whatever is happening here. After all, they have their petty lives to live. Ha 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 ha! The middle-aged man laughed again, clearly enjoying the feeling of cornering a child. He smirked and pointed at himself with his right thumb finger. I am called Twizer, but you can only call me father. He. People call me the former because they think I'm wise and twisted. Mister, please leave me alone. Yanlong begged again in a feeble tone as he felt out of breath. Bang! Call me father! The beatings kept increasing while Tianlong refused to give up. As an orphan who grew up in the slums, he had never seen his father and mother. He had a special place for his father and mother in his heart. As a child, he had wished many times that his father and mother would come to pick him up from the slums. But one day, he was confronted by a middle-aged man who claimed to know his parents. Being excited at the prospect of finding his parents, he naively followed the middle-aged man back to an unknown place, a private mansion, only to be terrorized and tortured. After 15 minutes, which seemed like a long period to both Tianlong and Davis, the little Tianlong gave up and started calling that middle-aged man father. But to Davis, it was all familiar. What is going to happen? What he tried to forget. It was all shown in front of him. His hatred soared while looking at Twizer. He couldn't wait to kill him once more. This man was once a scar in his life. Good, ho-ho. And you're a dog, right? There's something you are missing. Ah, yes, the collar. Wait obediently. This room is your cage. I'll go get the collar. Twizer smirked with a twisted smile and went out of the room. He didn't even bother locking the door. Davis's hatred once again soared, hearing that even though he knew what kind of torture would follow after this day. However, he could only watch what was happening helplessly. Davis tried to follow Twizer out of the room, while Tianlong was bruised with injuries lying down with lifeless eyes. Just when Davis was 10 meters away from the little Tianlong, a strange force kept him from leaving him. From this, Davis knew he had to stay with Tianlong, but he didn't know for who knows how long. Twizer came back with a collar in his hands. He had a degenerated smile on his face. Come here? Mutt, let me make you wear this. Tianlong didn't move. If you don't crawl up to Daddy right now, you'll be receiving my love. Even Mort Yanlong shuddered. He mindlessly crawled in front of Twizer and put his head down. Ha ha! Very good! That's my boy! Tianlong now had a collar on his neck. His eyes were dull, and he paid no heed to the laughing idiot in front of him. Bastard! I'll kill you! Davis could no longer control his emotions and attacked Twizer again, but as expected, it was of no use. A year passed. In the beginning, Davis had no way of making contact with someone in this world, and still didn't. The little Tianlong was shut inside the mansion, having no way to leave. Every week, he would be tortured until he was left half alive. At first, Tianlong was only pleading not to be beaten or tortured. After a month, he started enduring it without shouting, but that just seemed to make Twizer more excited, so he had no choice but to shout miserably to appease him. Davis looked at the scene and knew that he had been rather fooled at that time, as he was a naive child, and only now when he saw this scene did it become clear that reverse psychology was used on him. Perhaps he should have continued not to let out a whimper of pain, but that also might have been deadly, as he might lose the status of dog and be shot to be buried under the grassy yard outside. Davis bit his lips in frustration and anger. This mansion was none other than a devil's entertainment mansion. Thoughts of escape swirled inside Tian Long's head, but he had no way as he was collared. The collar's rope was long and tied to the center of the room. He had no way even to jump out of the window. Davis's heart was in pain every time he watched himself get tortured. It eventually turned into indifference. He kept reminding himself that this was just an illusion. After 5 months, the small Tian Long had enough of it. Finally, thoughts of killing Twizer filled his mind. He started attacking Twizer by himself, but Twizer became excited when he saw his pet, filled with killing intent, try to kill him. The result was Tian Long was full of injuries again without any suspense. His first counterattack ended up in failure. He now learned that Twizer was very strong. Personally, Davis knew what was going to happen, as he and Tian Long was the same. He was full of hatred for Twizer at that point, even now. The only thing he can be thankful for was that he knew that the little Tian Long wasn't going to be sexually abused. This madman, Twizer, was just a maniac who will get excited just by hitting people, but he presently knew for what reason he got captured by this madman. However, the poor little Tian Long of yonder didn't know why he was being subjected to this kind of torture. His pure soul that was without a blemish began to be painted in hate for the world. After that year ended, Twizer knew that Tian Long wasn't going to last long if he keeps this up. As a distraction, Twizer bought him various toys, books, even a PC. And it worked. The little Tian Long became absorbed in those, while the hate was growing inside him reduced, or else even he knew that he was going to break. After a year, the situation did not change much. Tian Long even had thoughts of contacting someone from the internet to save him after getting deeply familiar with the PC, but he dropped that idea as soon as he remembered Twizer saying something with a smile that was not a smile. If you tried to contact someone through anything, then just remember that it won't take long for you, and that someone to die. Tian Long knew that he wasn't kidding and didn't dare to try contacting someone ever again. 3 years had passed. Tian Long became 15 years old, becoming a teen. He grew to be detached from this world. He had an indifferent expression on his face all the time. His body remained full of scars except for his face. Tian Long gained various knowledge from the internet. He started watching anything that is concerned with entertainment, fantasy, something that helped him feel alive in this hellhole. Davis was still here, experiencing the whole thing again. After some time from the beginning, he and Tian Long had already started to form a connection intrinsically. Every time Tian Long felt pain or amused, he would feel it too. Twizer was no longer satisfied with keeping him tied up. He removed the collar and provoked Tian Long to escape. Each time Tian Long tried to escape, even with the knowledge he gained from the internet, he was beaten up miserably and brought back like a beaten-up dog. Twizer looked ecstatic every time, as if he pretty much enjoyed it like a hunt. In fact, from time to time, he would encourage Tian Long to escape. After multiple tries of failed attempts to escape, Tian Long realized it was just all lies and traps. 4 years eventually passed. Tian Long was sitting beside the PC. "Mutt, it's time," a voice could be heard outside the door. Twizer came into the room and started beating him up again, as if it was a routine for him. "How come this idiot never gets tired of beating me up? Is it like masturbation for him?" Tian Long thought nonchalantly. He was getting beaten up, but he couldn't give a fuck anymore. Getting beaten up is just pretty much a normal routine for him now. Davis was now connected more with Tian Long's emotions, not just pain. It encroached on him, and little by little, he gradually forgot what he came here for and felt what Tian Long felt. In his eyes, there was only killing intent. Just like Tian Long, he started hating this world. He blamed every person in this world. After beating him up, Twizer glanced at the PC. "Ha ha ha, Zangxia! Eastern fantasy? You got addicted to those fantasies?" Tian Long just kept quiet. Twizer smiled as if he suddenly got an idea. "Do you want to go to a fantasy world?" Twizer asked mysteriously. There was finally a movement in Tian Long's eyes. He looked back at Twizer but moved his gaze away. Tian Long instantly had a realization that he was being played with, but he felt any world other than this might be better. Deep in his eyes, the feeling of wanting to escape this hellhole existed within him after all. It was just that he didn't dare to show after numerous failed attempts. Twizer knew that he had successfully got his attention. He quickly said, "Let me tell you something good." Twizer was sure that his plan would work. "Have you heard about the transmigration stone?" You probably haven't. I have used my sources to discover about this just recently." Davis, who was by the side like a bystander, had a sudden look of confusion. He thought he remembered something, but chose not to dwell on it. Twizer took out the world map, which specifically marked 2 places. See those marks? One is the transmigration stone, while the other is the formation which connects to another world. Twizer had a profound smile on his face. Tianlong looked at him dubiously. "Oh, come on, when have I ever lied to you?" True, Twizer hasn't lied a single time, except that he claimed to know his parents. However, that too was, in a sense, true. All you have to do is gather the transmigration stone and make your way to the formation, which is secretly protected by a temple. I'll even give up this opportunity to you." Twizer smiled caringly, but his face changed instantly into an evil smile. "But do you think you can get away from me?" Tianlong acted like he had profound thoughts. He knew he'd be courting death if he went out. Twizer thought he had successfully riled up Tianlong into escaping. Tianlong had stopped escaping a long time ago, after all. After 6 months, Tianlong still showed no signs of escaping. This made Twizer very angry that he started thrashing him around like a ball. Tianlong was even more made to endure severe beatings while the killing intent in his eyes overflowed. Twizer could see that, and it even excited him up more. This endless routine made Tianlong painfully aware that, perhaps, his life was just going to end like this. Another 6 months passed anew. At dawn, Tianlong was staring outside the window. He wished he could just escape this hell, but didn't dare to do so. Just as Tianlong was staring outside, he saw a book falling from the sky. He was shocked and, at the same time, couldn't believe his eyes. He was almost sure that he started to hallucinate. He shook his head, rubbed his eyes, but he could still see it. The book came falling from the sky and fell behind a tree that was just nearby in the yard, not far from the window. Tianlong was pretty sure that he was hallucinating, but since it fell behind the tree from his viewpoint, he had no way to confirm other than going there himself. He felt a strong sense of curiosity, and his instincts were telling him to go check it out. This was the only mysterious event in his monotonous life that piqued his interest to sky-high levels. What's the worst thing that's going to happen if I get found by the guards? Just beatings and Twizer knowing about this. Yanlong consoled himself. He jumped out of the window and climbed down. Fortunately, no guards saw him jumping out of the mansion. Hence, they didn't instantly come for him. Tianlong hadn't tried escaping for a long time, which made the guards relax. The only guards who were active at this time were at the gates. In actuality, Twizer removed the guards who were monitoring Tianlong's window, all in the hopes so that his pet dog might try to escape one day. Tianlong moved swiftly but quietly to the tree. When he arrived behind the tree, he was shocked to see a book lying down there. Death book. The moment Tianlong saw the front cover, he immediately picked it up and hid it in his shirt. He swiftly returned to his room. He knew the CCTV recorded his movements from the window, but he didn't care. Everyone will just think he gave up and went back. In his room, Tianlong checked the book. The book was scribbled with a bunch of rules, and he felt it was pretty interesting. Without much to do other than using the PC, he decided to try it out on Twizer when he came back. In a sense, he was hoping it would work, and his current deranged mentality believed it to be the case. Davis, who was watching all this as he wished to kill Twizer, slowly disintegrated. After 3 days of painstakingly waiting, Tianlong could hear those hateful footsteps approaching him outside the door. He immediately wrote Twizer's name in the book and hid it somewhere behind his PC, and he started counting. 10. The door opened, and Twizer came walking in with a swagger. "Mutt, I heard that you tried to escape but gave up." Tianlong just smiled. 20. You admit. Very well, I'll just make this punishment light. Cracking sounds came from Twizer's fist as he flexed. 30. Twizer swung his fists and started beating him up. Tianlong just kept smiling at him like a fool, which made Twizer feel uncomfortable for some reason. Did this kid break down, or is he planning something? Hey, just bring it on, Twizer thought with a grin. 40. 42, 44. Tianlong suddenly started chanting. What the hell are you counting? The number of punches? The chant made Twizer even more uncomfortable. 45, die, bastard. Twizer's heart skipped a beat. He was shocked by his pet's sudden outburst. After a moment of silence, he regained his bearings. Die. And how are you going to make me die? Twizer cruelly abused down Tianlong with his rapidly raining fists that boomed with each punch. It didn't work. Tianlong switched to his lifeless self again. He felt like he no longer had any chances of escape from the clutches of Twizer. He put all his hopes into that book and had expected too much from it. He had fallen into despair again. In these 10 years, he didn't know how many times he fell into despair only to dream of hope again. H-Mite, don't get full of yourself, mutt! Stay obedient. Twizer thought Tianlong was going to bomb him or become a suicide bomber and take him out with him, but on second thought he realized that Tianlong had no means to secure a bomb or even make one with insufficient materials, even if he can learn from the internet or the dark web. Twizer didn't want to stay anymore. He harumphed and left swiftly. Tianlong was lying down as he kept staring outside the window. His eyes seemed lifeless, without any color. Suddenly, he focused his eyes only to see a monstrosity with long 6 wings appear outside the window. He kept staring at it silently with a shocked face. He couldn't believe his own eyes. He wondered what had happened to him this week. First, he believed in a stupid fantasy notebook, and now he felt that he was hallucinating. Tianlong chuckled to himself with a mocking expression on his face. After a moment of silence, "Who are you?" Tianlong asked, his voice trembling. Although he didn't want to admit it, that monster seemed very real. Its gaze was just terrifying. "Are you the human who picked up my book?" said the monstrosity. Book. Tianlong had a momentary lapse of his memory, but he quickly remembered the death book he picked up 3 days ago. Yes, I was the one who picked up the death book. Quickly help me kill that bastard Twizer. I wrote his name on the death book, but he just won't die. Are you the one who's going to kill him? Hope reignited inside of Tianlong as he asked with a crazed expression on his face. Hey, wait a moment, my name is? Leave it. You can just call me the Death God Overlord. Death God Overlord. Tianlong gulped on hearing such a grand title. Yes, are you sure you wrote the real name of the person you want to die? The Overlord looked at him with a condescending gaze. Real name, Tianlong muttered. It's his fake name. Tianlong abruptly remembered when Twizer introduced himself. He said people called him Twizer. In reality, Tianlong had experienced Twizer's devastating abuse for over 10 years. He wasn't at fault when he thought that Twizer was his real name. After all, that name was plaguing him for over 10 years. Then help me kill him, Overlord. Tianlong requested with killing intent gleaming in his eyes. I can't. Even though you are now the owner of this death book, I will not help you kill someone. If you want to kill that person, then you have to find his real name. How? I have no idea, and he doesn't leave any traces either. Tianlong became worried. Boy, I have a deal that can make you find his real name. But for that, you will have deal. Tianlong didn't care as long as he could kill him at this point. Quick answer? But let me finish. This deal will require half of your remaining lifespan, and in return, you will get the Death God eyes that can inspect a person's real name and lifespan. Consider carefully. Deal. There isn't anything to consider, Tianlong said with a determined expression on his face. He deemed that it's better to live a year freely than live these 2 years in hell. All right, a week later. Creak exclamation, the door opened, and Twizer entered Tianlong's room. He sneered and started with the provocation, as if he would never be tired of it. Yo, mutt, I see you are still the same obedient dog. Mo wooming, huh? Tianlong sneered openly, imitating his expression. You disobedient dog! Let's see how you laugh again! Mo wooming promptly started beating him up again. Tianlong endured it as he always does, albeit he was a little excited inwardly. Mo wooming felt a little uncomfortable and shouted, Aren't you going to kill me? 10 years have passed, and you still can't beat me in a fight. You mutt, he shouted and suddenly lost the excitement to beat him up, so he left the room without even looking back. Tianlong immediately stood up and went to jot down his name on the death book. Finally, ha 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 ha! Tianlong let out a burst of crazed laughter. After 30 seconds, he dashed out of his door at full speed. He caught up to Mo wooming in 10 seconds, who was walking over the corridor. There was a distance of 10 meters between them. You, mutt! You dare to come out! Once Mo wooming spotted Tianlong, he slowly approached him, readying his fists. 5! Mutt, what is that book in your hands? Mo wooming didn't seem to remember giving Tianlong an object like this. 4! He showed the book to him. Death book. What's that? An artifact. 3! Mo Wuming grew enraged. What the fuck are you counting this time around for? 2! Tianlong possessed a crazed smile on his face. Fess up, mutt! Mo Wuming got hold of his collar. 1 die! Thump exclamation. Mo Wuming immediately clutched at his chest. He produced a shocked expression on his face filled with pain. You! Mo Wuming pointed at Tianlong and fell over Tianlong's shoulders. He lost his life permanently. Ha ha ha! Tianlong pushed him away and laughed hysterically. Mo Wuming's corpse fell on the floor with a thud. After laughing for who knows how long, a voice could be heard in the corridor. Papa! A 6-year-old girl can be seen standing 5 meters away from him. She moved closer to the corpse and stood beside it. Papa, wake up! She gave a push to the corpse. After trying for some time and seeing her father not wake up, she started to cry. Tianlong stared at her and smiled evilly. Oh, Mo Wuming had a daughter. So unexpected, he used his death god eyes and saw that her name was Mo Wan. She even had a longer lifespan than her own father. For all the mistakes he'd done, it looks like I can vent myself on his daughter. Tianlong smirked. His pupils were red due to the death god eyes that made him look pure evil. Tianlong kicked the little girl away from her father, sending her flying. Aya! The little girl growled in pain and cried, woo-woo! Everything is your father's fault, Papa! Help me! Woo-woo, the little girl pitifully cried as she tried to wipe her tears, trying to stand up. However, Tianlong came before her and started stomping on her little face. The little girl used her tiny hands to block his kicks, but it was of no use. She instead twisted her body and tried to crawl back to her father as she sobbed. Papa, Papa'd, do you know how many times your father trampled on me? Do you know how many times your father made me crawl? This doesn't even compare to 1/10 of what your father did to me. Tianlong let her crawl back to her father while he kept kicking her small figure. One Mo Huan reached her father. She got hold of her father's shirt and didn't let go. Oh, what's this? Tianlong found a knife on Mo Wuming's body. Maybe I can make my heart be at peace if I cut you piece by piece. Tianlong smiled evilly and made a slash at her face. No! Help! Papa! The little girl who caught sight of the shimmering screamed miserably. Bang exclamation, a punch came out from nowhere, sending Tianlong flying through the corridor. And then, in the eerie atmosphere, Tianlong suddenly disintegrated. I remember quickly running away rather miserably after seeing this girl cry her heart out sadly for her father. The 10 years I spent in this hell doesn't even compare to the guilt when I saw this child cry while cupping her dead father's face. If it weren't for this child, perhaps I would have truly turned out what I didn't want to become, a Sai, escaped from a person who stood beside the child. He had blonde hair and an attractive face, even though he looked like a child. Still, to play such an evil role with my body, did you think you can change my heart? My heart demon? Davis produced a smug expression on his face while questioning himself. In the Redemption Tower, the 3rd floor, Davis, who was subconsciously cultivating the sacred luminance mist, slightly shuddered. A bright golden luminance surrounded him as he made a breakthrough to mid-level nascent soul stage. His cultivation climbed higher until his foundation stopped rising to a point and remained incredibly stable at that level. He opened his eyes and he could feel with his soul that only 6 hours had passed while he spent 10 years in that hell. What a scary heart demon! It had me in its palm for over 10 years, little by little connecting me with my past self. First, pain. Second, emotions. Third, a state where I could only watch mindlessly and not make a move if I hadn't realized at the last moment if I had managed to torture and kill the girl, would I truly be the one to return here? Davis trembled. He suddenly felt as if this question should be left unanswered for the time being. In any case, he felt he was the same as ever, not much different from the time he entered the heart demon trial. However, there was something about him different that he couldn't put his finger upon. He didn't ponder much, so he quickly stood up and exited the tower. When he came out of the tower, he could see a figure run up to him extremely fast. That figure instantly closed the distance before he could even react and hugged him, giving him pure warmth. He smiled. "I'm back, Mother." "You silly." Claire released him as she looked at him. Davis realized that her eyes were red. She looked like she had cried for a long time. Logan came closer, walking slowly. He angrily stared at Davis, but he was inwardly delighted. What happened? Why is Mother's eyes so red? Davis felt that he should be the one who was angry this time around. Davis, you idiot! The heart demon session doesn't even last over an hour, and you have been there for over 6 hours. Just look at how your mother was worried sick about you. If you hadn't come out, I would have killed you myself. Logan explained with an angry face, but he didn't mean it one bit. Instead, at that time, he was fidgety and indecisive about whether he should stop the formation to rescue Davis. But if he were to do so, he believed that there might be unimaginable consequences. Hence, he decided to put his faith in his son. Fortunately, they saw him come out after 6 hours. Otherwise, they would have no choice but to stop the formation. After you entered the tower for more than an hour, your mother couldn't help but leave the Imperial Castle. She waited for 2 more hours in this place worriedly, but then she cried for about an hour and fainted. She just woke up just now. You are such a disgrace. What if something had happened to her and the baby in her womb? After seeing that his son was fine, Logan wanted to scold his son severely. Mother, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for making you worry. I promise that I'll never make Yo Davis realized his fault and hurriedly apologized, but was interrupted. Silly, you can't make that promise. You are meant to spread your wings in the future. No matter where you go, Mother wouldn't stop worrying about you. Claire knew that her son would soar higher than anyone else in the future. That is the confidence that she had for her son. Her pride. Davis pursed his lips and felt moved. Even though it wasn't directly his fault, he felt that it was better to apologize and comfort his mother with words because he learned that pregnancy posed a greater danger to cultivator women more than mortal women. There were just too many complications that could harm the baby if the pregnant women weren't properly taken care of, and he, Davis, made his mother, who was pregnant with a child, cry till she fainted. This might inadvertently worsen her situation. Hence, he couldn't help but feel extremely sorry at the same time. All right, let's return to the Imperial Castle. Logan shook his head and said, both of them nodded, in the Emperor's quarters. So, you did make a breakthrough, right? Logan asked, quite in doubt. The amulet Davis had on him was concealing his soul-forging cultivation. Hence, Logan found it difficult to tell. Yes, I've advanced to the mid-level nascent soul stage, Davis replied with a smile. Good. Logan nodded in satisfaction. Davis, use your soul sense, Claire said as she touched her glabella. Davis spontaneously used his soul sense as he knew how to extend his soul sense from reading the basics. A transparent form of energy tinged with light golden luminance spread around 50 meters of him in a spherical radius. In this space, he could perceive everything that is within his range. It was an uncanny and strange feeling that left him momentarily stunned. Davis lost himself in a trance, perceiving his surroundings while Logan and Claire had their jaws drop. I know that his soul is powerful, but not this powerful, Claire muttered. Davis became confused. What part of him did it cause them to say that his soul is very powerful? But he immediately realized it. An average person with a mid-level nascent soul stage cultivation could only extend his soul sense for about 10 meters, while, on the other hand, you can extend up to 50 meters. This precisely denotes that your soul is 5 times more powerful than an average person who trains in soul-forging cultivation, Claire explained. But then, why can't I extend my soul sense up to 5 meters when I was in low-level nascent soul stage? Davis expressed his doubts. Silly, Claire giggled. It simply doesn't work that way. Average cultivators of the low-level nascent soul stage can only make their soul escape once their body is destroyed. Even then, their souls would quickly evaporate if they couldn't find a compatible treasure to secure their souls. Weak, low-level nascent soul stage cultivators are simply unable to use soul sense at that cultivation base. Only people with powerful souls can use their soul sense to scan their bodies 2 or 3 times when in low-level nascent soul stage, like your father, Claire explained patiently. Logan produced a proud face when he heard her say that, but once he thought about how his son had beat him, his face deflated. Davis, you should have unlocked the first layer of sacred illuminance mist by now. Display it for Mother. The first layer? Okay? Davis nodded and circulated his soul to perform according to the first layer of sacred luminance mist. Layers of a cultivation technique can be easily comprehended, unlike battle techniques, which requires manual comprehension. The only prerequisite was that one should reach the required stage and trained in that specific cultivation manual. Of course, if one was stupid and talentless, then even that one will find it difficult to comprehend the layers of a cultivation technique, even if they reach the required cultivation stage. A bright golden force field spread 10 meters from Davis. Davis felt like nothing could damage his soul in this space. The sacred soul shield you formed is powerful as well. Both of them weren't surprised this time. Even peak-level, nascent soul stage cultivators will find it very difficult to break that. Logan sighed in submission. He didn't even realize that he was competing with his son. That's it. Davis expected more, like a flamboyant move capable of thrashing around everyone around him. Cough ha, if this is the end, then it won't be any different than other soul-forging cultivation manuals, which enables you to deploy a soul shield. Claire confidently said and added, try shrinking it till you cover your entire body with it. Davis nodded his head and tried to shrink the golden force field. The golden force field shrank until it only covered his body. Logan and Claire looked at how his soul is not only powerful but pure as well. This, wouldn't even infant soul stage cultivators find it hard to break this sacred soul shield of his? Logan muttered. Claire became dumbfounded as well. She uttered absent-mindedly, yes. The infant soul stage is the second stage of soul forging cultivation. Davis was kind of happy but, at the same time, disappointed thinking that his shield was not useful against young soul stage cultivators. He didn't know that his parents were comparing him subconsciously with other cultivators who cultivated in other sky-grade soul forging cultivation manuals.